GDC 2014 torna Multiplayer.it per il sociale con le nostre grandissime inchieste. Abbiamo approfittato della terra degli aspiranti sviluppatori e game designer per chiedergli che cosa ne pensano dei caschi di realtà virtuale. L'Oculus Rift già lo conoscevate, adesso Sony ha annunciato il suo Morpheus e noi siamo andati a chiedere a questi ragazzi: ma riusciranno mai ad essere un vero successo commerciale? Venderanno? Headsets. Yeah. In your opinion, will they ever get big?
I believe so. It feels really good. I felt like I was up in space. I even got a little bit of the jitters for height, right? I'm not good in high altitudes, but it was cool. I actually enjoyed it.
I think eventually, I think the tech still needs a lot of development, but I think probably sometime in the future, maybe in a few years, they'll definitely be a lot more immersive than they are at the moment, and especially when they actually get into your homes, then maybe, yeah, so it could be the future, but probably not as a permanent gaming solution, but maybe as a sort of fun thing on the side. That's just my opinion anyway.
I don't know if they'll be as big as console games, but I used an Oculus for the first time yesterday, and I think it'll definitely find a niche and will succeed in that niche.
Yeah, I think it has enough utility where it provides a lot of unique gameplay to where if at the very least it's not as big, it'll definitely still have like an underground buzz at the very least.
I think VR is definitely taking off. I think it's going to be a huge product in the next coming years.
I think there's definitely a place for them in the market, but I don't see it as something that everyone will have in their home.
You know, a lot of people have looked at, you know, other big innovative designs, and well, not designs, but like say for example the Wii. Like it's like, oh, it came up with this great thing and it was new, it was completely different, and it ended up being a huge success. I think this has the potential for it.
I'm a total advocate of them. I saw the new Rift demos that they had, or the new Oculus demos that they had at the booth here, and I was totally converted. I think I'm going to swap everything I'm working on to be VR. I was, to me, the most immersive thing that I've ever done related to games, and I think it's, even if it's not the thing you're always doing in your living room.
I think it's finally about the time that they should become a commercial success. I mean, they've been around for a long time, but I think the amount of momentum that is picked up behind things like the Oculus Rift and the experiments that Valve has been doing, and now the new Sony thing, like, I think it's all good. And I was kind of worried because before there was no console makers that were doing VR, but now that, I mean, Sony is doing this with the PS4, it's promising because it means that developers are going to have to consider it for the games, and I think that just means good things for the future of games.
What do you think will be the most successful in between Sony and these?
Both, maybe. Depends. Like, there's so much that can be done with it, so it's all up to the developers, I guess.
You know, there's two things. I think Sony's going to have a nice like pipeline to, like, you know, people can put stuff in it. You can just download it. It's easy to set up. Theoretically, there's a store and one button to make it work. Whereas anything on the PC, you know, you're kind of dealing with, you know, all the traditional issues with it. But I think it's much more appropriate to be sitting at a desk with it on than necessarily your couch. It might be a little off-putting to be on your couch with a headset on and people in the room are like...
Personally, I think Oculus is kind of ahead of everybody right now because they definitely, I think they kind of set the precedent. Everybody's jumping on the train after them now. Sony's kind of, I think their device is just for the PS4. Yeah. So as far as I know, I mean, Oculus and Valve are the only two people with VR like things for the PC right now.
I haven't used the Sony one yet. I still want to check that out, but I'm curious over the next few years as like the tech becomes more normalized, how many more like independent or custom VR headsets and controllers, kind of similar to how Steam controller and new controllers are kind of emerging. So I feel like it's kind of up in the air at this point.
I think that the Oculus will succeed more than the PlayStation one, simply because I think VR is something that is kind of weird, and I think PC gamers are a little more into stranger experiences rather than the PlayStation, which feels more like a living room experience where you're kind of in this very comfortable situation of just sitting on your couch, and having a VR headset on your couch in the living room would feel weird, I think.
You don't see it as a problem as, you know, putting things on your head while playing in the living room?
Look, I mean, it's kind of it's a bit of a weird experience for the first time because you're sitting there and like the demo that I played, I looked down and I could see my entire body, and I knew that it wasn't my body, but I also felt my own body there. And it's one of those things of where I think you just need to be kind of self-aware of what's going on. You definitely need to be in a, I guess like a safe environment to use it. Like you don't want to be somewhere where you can actually walk into something or fall down some stairs or, yeah.
It's a bit inconvenient, you know. When I play games at home, I usually don't want to, you know, put on this helmet because it's, you know, I think gaming should be more social than that. So I think that's one of the problems with it.
You know, some people go play World of Warcraft. They might go to their machine, and you know, they're not interacting with people in the room. They're isolated and kind of doing their thing on a PC. I don't think it's that much different to have a headset on. I think there's a pretty huge market for that.
I don't think it's so much of a problem. I mean, you're already sort of like glued to the television, like already, just sort of keeping an eye on it. And so if anything, this is like creating less distraction. I would think that it would kind of make the entire experience that much more involving. And so anything that forces you to have fun, like it's got to be a good thing, right?
Out of 10 friends, how many of them do you see playing with headsets?
Once every one of those 10 friends puts the headset on, it's going to be all 10.
Thank you. Li avete sentiti? Le avete sentite? Qui c'è grandissimo entusiasmo per questi nuovi progetti. Addirittura uno sviluppatore che dopo aver provato Oculus Rift si è dedicato anima e corpo a quest'idea, quella della realtà virtuale. Qualcuno ha detto che potrebbero avere problemi, nel senso della difficoltà di giustificare in un salotto la necessità di giocare così in solitaria, così isolati, ma alla fine c'è stato detto chi gioca a un World of Warcraft per ore davanti a una scrivania non fa più o meno la stessa cosa. Vedremo che cosa succederà. Di certo questo, mai come adesso, è il momento per i caschi di realtà virtuale. Dimmi quando ci sei, eh? Chiedergli degli headset siamo dei caschi di realtà virtuale. Stai già registrando?